The space station hummed with excitement. Commander Zekthor stood at the observation window watching the small human ship drift closer. His 3 eyes gleamed with satisfaction. After months of planning, they had finally captured a human. The Velcrin Empire was powerful. They ruled over 30 star systems. Their military had defeated every enemy they faced. But their real weapon was not ships or soldiers. It was science. For 200 years, the Velcrin had conquered other species the same way. They would capture one of them, study their bodies, learn how their cells worked. Then they would create diseases that only killed that species. It was simple. It was effective. It never failed. Now it was humanity's turn. The humans were new to the galaxy. They had only discovered faster-than-light travel 15 years ago. Their ships were small and slow. Their weapons were basic. They seemed weak. Perfect targets. Zekthor watched as his soldiers brought the human aboard. She was a female, wearing a gray uniform with strange symbols. Her skin was pale brown. Her hair was black and tied back. She walked calmly between the guards, showing no fear. That bothered him a little. Most captured aliens screamed or tried to escape. This one just looked around with dark eyes, as if she was curious rather than afraid. The guards brought her to the research laboratory. It was a large white room filled with medical equipment. 20 Velcrin scientists waited there. They wore protective suits and carried scanning devices. Zekthor entered the lab. He approached the human slowly. She was shorter than him, but she stood straight. Her eyes met his without looking away. "What is your name?" he asked in the common galactic language. "Commander Sarah Chen," she replied. Her accent was strange, but she spoke clearly. "Earth Alliance Navy. You have been captured for research purposes," Zekthor explained. "We will study your biology. It will not be pleasant, but you will not be killed. If you cooperate, there will be less pain." Sarah looked at him for a long moment. Then she smiled. It was not a happy smile. "You have no idea what you just did," she said quietly. Zekthor ignored her words. Captured aliens often made threats. It meant nothing. The scientists began their work. They took samples of Sarah's blood. They scanned her bones and organs. They collected tissue from her skin and hair. Sarah sat still through it all. Sometimes she answered their questions. Sometimes she just watched them work. Hours passed. The scientists filled their computers with data. Everything seemed normal. Then one of the younger scientists called out, "Commander Zekthor, you need to see this." Zekthor walked to the display screen. It showed an image of human DNA, magnified thousands of times. The scientist pointed at strange patterns in the genetic code. "What am I looking at?" Zekthor asked. "Fragments," the scientist said. His voice shook. "Pieces of DNA from other species. Thousands of them. Maybe tens of thousands. Some of them are from creatures that went extinct millions of years ago." Zekthor stared at the screen. That was impossible. No species could have genetic material from so many others. It violated every principle of biology. "Run the test again," he ordered. "Check for errors." They ran the test 5 more times. The results were always the same. Sarah spoke from her chair. "It's not an error. That's just how humans are." All the scientists turned to look at her. "Explain," Zekthor demanded. Sarah leaned back. "Earth is what we call a death world. It's one of the most dangerous planets in the known galaxy. The temperature swings from freezing to boiling. The atmosphere has poison, the oceans are full of predators. Diseases evolve faster than anywhere else." She paused. To survive there, life had to become incredibly tough, incredibly adaptable. Our immune systems learn to fight threats you've never imagined. Our cells carry the genetic memory of every battle our ancestors ever fought. The laboratory became very quiet. Zekthor felt a cold sensation in his chest. What kind of threats? Sarah listed them on her fingers. Smallpox, plague, tuberculosis, malaria, Influenza, HIV, Ebola, COVID, those are just the famous ones. There were thousands more. Each one killed millions of us before we learned to fight back. She looked directly at Zekthor. And we survived them all. Every human alive today carries the genetic weapons that defeated those diseases. Our bodies are walking arsenals. Zekthor turned back to his scientists. His mind was racing. If what the human said was true, then bringing her here was dangerous. Very dangerous, but it was too late for such thoughts. One of the junior researchers suddenly coughed, then another, then a third. Within an hour, they all had fevers. The fever spread fast. By the next morning, 12 scientists were sick. By evening, 20 more. The medical staff tried everything they knew, but nothing worked. Zekthor stood in the observation room above the laboratory. He watched through the glass as doctors moved between beds. The sick Velcrin lay still, their skin changing from its normal blue to a sickly gray color. 3 of them had already died. He turned to look at Sarah Chen. She sat in a sealed containment room, visible through another window. She appeared completely healthy. She read a book on a datapad as calm as if she was at home. His assistant, Mira, approached him. "Commander, the analysis is complete. You need to hear this." They went to the main computer room. Mira pulled up files on the large display. Graphs and charts filled the screen. All of them showed terrible news. The infection came from bacteria that live on human skin, Mira explained. They're called commensals. On humans, they're harmless. They're part of the human body's natural defense system. But to us, she paused, to us, they're deadly. Our immune systems have never seen anything like them. We have no defense. Zekthor felt his blood turn cold. They had made a catastrophic mistake. How bad is it? He asked. Mira touched the screen. A new image appeared. It showed the research station, with red dots spreading from the laboratory to other sections. It's already in the ventilation system. We estimate every person on this station will be infected within 3 days. The station held 5,000 Velcrin. What about a cure? Zekthor asked. We're the best biological engineers in the galaxy. Surely we can create something. Mira shook her head slowly. These bacteria adapt too quickly. Every treatment we try, they change to resist it. It's like they're learning. Our computers estimate it would take 50 years to develop an effective cure. We don't have 50 years. We have days. I know, Mira said quietly. Zekthor made a decision. He walked to Sarah's containment room. He spoke through the communication system. Human, we need your help. Sarah looked up from her book. She studied him for a moment. Then she set the pad down and walked to the glass. You're dying, she said. It was not a question. Yes. The bacteria from your body are killing my people. We cannot stop it. We need you to give us a cure. Sarah crossed her arms. Why would I help you? You kidnapped me. You were planning to create weapons to destroy my entire species. Zekthor could not deny it. It was true. What do you want? He asked finally. Sarah smiled, but there was no humor in it. First, I want you to understand what you did wrong. You thought humans were weak because our technology is simple. You thought we'd be easy to conquer. She stepped closer to the glass. But humans didn't evolve in a safe galaxy. We evolved on Earth. Every day on our planet was a battle for survival, not against other species with weapons, but against the planet itself. Earth has killed more humans than all the wars in our history combined, she continued. Hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanoes, ice ages, floods, droughts, and worst of all, diseases. She began listing them. The Black Death killed half of Europe. Smallpox wiped out entire civilizations. The Spanish flu killed 50 million people in 2 years. We fought invisible enemies that could kill billions. And we won, Sarah said firmly. Not by running away. Not by hiding. We stayed and fought. We learned. We adapted. Every human alive today is descended from survivors. Our bodies remember every battle. Zekthor listened in growing horror. The Velcrin had evolved on a peaceful world. Their only enemies had been other intelligent species. They had never faced what Sarah described. Our immune systems are not just defenses, Sarah explained. They're weapons. Active, learning, adapting weapons. When a new disease appears, our bodies study it. Learn its weaknesses. Create antibodies to destroy it. Then our cells remember that information forever. She gestured at the sick Velcrin beyond the glass. Those bacteria on my skin? They're completely harmless to me. My immune system domesticated them millions of years ago. They're part of my body's ecosystem. But to us they're death, Zekthor finished. Exactly. And this is just bacteria. I also carry viruses, fungi, parasites, all living in balance inside me, all deadly to species that didn't evolve on a death world. The room was silent for a long moment. What do you want? Zekthor asked again. To save my people. Sarah's expression became serious. I want you to contact the human fleet. Tell them I'm alive and unharmed. Request medical assistance, and I want a promise. The Velcrin Empire will never again attempt to capture, study, or harm any human being. If we do this, you will help us? I can't cure you, Sarah said. But my blood contains antibodies. Your scientists can use them to develop treatments. It won't be fast, but it's your only chance. Zekthor made the hardest decision of his life. He agreed. 2 hours later, a message was sent into human space. It contained a single sentence. We have captured Commander Sarah Chen. We require immediate medical assistance. This is not a threat. This is a plea for help. By the time the message arrived, the infection had spread to the station's command deck. By the time Earth responded, it had reached the docking bay. By the time help could arrive, everyone on the station would be infected. And the worst part? 3 supply ships had left the station before the quarantine was established. They were already on their way to 3 different Velcrin colony worlds. The plague was spreading. The capital world of the Velcrin Empire was called Velcara Prime. It was beautiful. Blue oceans covered half the planet. Green forests spread across 3 continents. 12 billion Velcrin lived there in peace and prosperity, until the first supply ship arrived. The ship docked at the main spaceport. The crew went through normal procedures. They passed health screenings. They showed no signs of illness. They were cleared to enter the city. 6 hours later, the first crew member collapsed. By the next day, everyone who had been near the spaceport was showing symptoms. High fever, difficulty breathing, skin discoloration. The hospitals filled quickly. Doctors had no idea what they were treating. High Council leader Vectar stood in the emergency command center. Screens surrounded him, showing maps of the infection spread. Red zones grew larger every hour. How did this happen? He demanded. We have the best medical technology in the galaxy. His chief medical officer, Dr. Renshaw, looked exhausted. This is unlike anything we've seen. The pathogen adapts to every treatment. It's as if it's intelligent. Where did it come from? Dr. Renshaw hesitated. The research station. The one where we're holding the human prisoner. Vectar went very still. He had approved the capture mission personally. He had believed it would give them the key to conquering humanity. Instead, it had brought death to their homeworld. Get me Commander Zekthor, he ordered. Now. The communication screen flickered to life. Zekthor appeared. He looked terrible. His skin was pale. His eyes were red. He was clearly sick. Explain, Vectar said coldly. Zekthor told him everything. The capture of the human, the discovery of their unique biology, the bacteria, the spreading infection, the desperate plea for help sent to Earth. When he finished, Vectar was silent for a long time. How many of our worlds are infected? He asked finally. 3 so far. But trade ships travel between our colonies every day. Within a week, it could reach all 30 systems. And the human? This Commander Chen? She's healthy. Completely unaffected. She has offered to help us develop a treatment, but only if we guarantee her safety and promise never to harm humanity again. Vectar felt anger rise in his chest. She dares to make demands? Execute her. Maybe without her, the disease will stop spreading. No, Zekthor shouted, then coughed. When he spoke again, his voice was weaker. Killing her won't stop anything. The bacteria are already everywhere, and she's our only hope for a cure. Her blood contains antibodies we need. Before Vectar could respond, another voice spoke. Sarah Chen had entered the frame of the communication screen. She stood beside Zekthor, still sealed behind a glass barrier. Leader Vectar, she said calmly, I need you to understand something important. This isn't an attack. This is an accident. My people didn't do this on purpose. You brought death to our worlds. No, you brought me to your worlds. Against my will. If you had left humanity alone, none of this would have happened. Vectar wanted to argue, but he could not. She was right. But I don't want your people to die, Sarah continued. I'm a soldier, not a monster. I will help you. But you need to understand what you're dealing with. She moved closer to the glass. Every human is like me. We all carry these microorganisms. We all have these immune systems. If you harm me, if you harm any human, this will happen again. Maybe worse. Worse? How could it be worse? Sarah's expression became grim. Because what's killing you now is just bacteria. Common bacteria that live on human skin. We also have protocols for captured personnel. If I had been harmed, if I had been tortured or killed, my body contains dormant viral packages that would have activated. What kind of viruses? Vectar asked, though he was afraid of the answer. Military grade. Engineered for maximum transmission and lethality. They're designed as a last resort weapon. If an enemy captures and kills one of us, they doom themselves. The command center became absolutely quiet. Everyone was staring at the screen. You're saying every human is a biological weapon? Vectar asked slowly, not by choice. It's protection. Humans learned a long time ago that the best way to prevent capture is to make capturing us suicidal. She paused, but I wasn't harmed. Commander Zekthor treated me with respect, so the viral packages stayed dormant. You got lucky. Vectar felt the weight of their mistake crushing down on him. They had thought humans were primitive, easy prey. Instead, they had discovered a species so dangerous that just touching one could destroy an entire civilization. What do you want from us? He asked. Simple thing, Sarah replied. Send me home. Never capture another human. Share your findings with the other galactic powers so they don't make the same mistake. And in return, human medical teams will come to help treat your people. Why would you help us? After what we tried to do? Sarah smiled sadly. Because humans understand plagues. We've fought them for thousands of years. We know what it's like to watch people die from invisible enemies. We don't wish that on anyone, not even our enemies. She turned to look at Zekthor, who was struggling to stay on his feet. And because some of your people showed mercy when they didn't have to. That deserves to be repaid. Vectar looked at the death toll numbers rising on his screens. Millions were already sick. Hundreds of thousands had died. His empire was crumbling. He had no choice. We accept your terms, he said. Please help us, Sarah nodded. Send the message to Earth. Tell them Commander Sarah Chen is alive and requesting immediate medical evacuation and support. They'll come. The message was sent within minutes. 3 days later, human ships appeared at the edge of Velcrin space. They did not come alone. They brought something far more terrifying than weapons. They brought hope. Admiral Marcus Hayes stood on the bridge of the carrier ship Resilience. Through the main view screen, he could see the Velcrin homeworld growing larger. 8 more human warships flanked his vessel, moving in perfect formation. They had traveled for 3 days at maximum speed. When the distress call arrived, the entire Earth Alliance military had mobilized. One of their own was in danger. Nothing else mattered, but the message they received was strange. Not a ransom demand. Not a threat. Just 5 words. We need your help, please. Admiral, the communications officer called out. We're receiving a transmission from the surface. It's High Council Leader Vectar. Put him on screen. The Velcrin leader appeared. He looked terrible. His blue skin had turned gray. His movements were slow and weak. Behind him, medical personnel moved through corridors filled with the sick and dying. Admiral Hayes, Vectar said. His voice was rough. Thank you for coming. Where is Commander Chen? Hayes demanded. If she's been harmed, there will be consequences. She is alive and well. She is the only reason any of us are still alive. Please let me explain what happened. Vectar told the whole story. The capture. The research. The accidental plague. The billions of Velcrin who were now sick or dead. He held nothing back. His people had made a terrible mistake and now they were paying for it. When he finished, Admiral Hayes was quiet for a long moment. You tried to weaponize our biology, he said finally. You captured one of our people for experiments. Yes, it was wrong. We understand that now. But please, millions are dying. Commander Chen said you could help. Hayes turned to his medical officer. Dr. Patel, your assessment? A woman in a white uniform stepped forward. Based on the data they've sent, this is a standard human commensal bacteria. Staphylococcus epidermidis, most likely. Harmless to us, but clearly deadly to Velcrin physiology. We can help them. How long to develop a treatment? With Commander Chen's antibodies and their medical facilities? 2 weeks for a working treatment. Another month for mass production. Hayes nodded slowly. He looked back at Vectar. Here are my terms, he said. First, Commander Chen will be returned to us immediately with full honors. Second, the Velcrin Empire will sign a formal treaty promising never to capture, harm, or experiment on any human being. Third, you will share all data from this incident with the Galactic Council. Other species need to know the danger. We accept all terms, Vectar said without hesitation. Good. Then we will send our medical teams down immediately. They will work with your doctors to develop a cure. But understand this, Leader Vectar, this is not friendship. This is mercy. If you ever threaten humanity again, we will not be so generous. Within hours, human medical ships entered orbit around Velcara Prime. Personnel in sealed biosuits descended to the surface. They brought equipment, medicines, and most importantly, knowledge. Dr. Patel led the response team. She set up a temporary laboratory in the main hospital. Velcrin scientists watched in amazement as the humans worked. They moved with practiced efficiency. Every human wore a full containment suit. Not to protect themselves, but to protect the Velcrin from further contamination. Even their breath could be deadly here. Dr. Renshaw, the Velcrin chief medical officer, approached Dr. Patel carefully. How do you know so much about treating bacterial infections? Patel looked up from her work. Because we've been fighting them for our entire existence. Before we had modern medicine, infections killed more humans than anything else. We developed antibiotics, vaccines, advanced treatments. We had to, or we would have gone extinct. Your species seems obsessed with survival. We are, because on Earth everything wants to kill you. The weather, the animals, the plants, the microscopic organisms. We learned to be obsessed with survival, or we died out. While the medical teams worked, Commander Sarah Chen was brought aboard the Resilience. Admiral Hayes met her in the docking bay. She looked tired but unhurt. She saluted sharply. Commander Chen reporting, sir. Hayes returned the salute, then surprised her by pulling her into a brief hug. Thank God you're safe. We were preparing for war. I know, sir. I'm sorry for the trouble. Trouble? Chen, you single-handedly prevented an interstellar war and saved billions of alien lives. That's not trouble. That's a miracle. Sarah smiled weakly. She was exhausted. What happened down there? Hayes asked. The real story, not the official report. Sarah took a deep breath. They captured me to study human biology. They wanted to create biological weapons against us. But they didn't understand what they were dealing with. The bacteria on my skin infected them. It spread like wildfire. They got what they deserved then, Hayes said coldly. Maybe. But sir, most of the Velcrin had no idea what their leaders were planning. Innocent people are dying. Children are dying. I couldn't just let that happen. Hayes studied her face. Sarah Chen had always been one of his best officers. Brave, intelligent, and compassionate. Those qualities had just saved countless lives. You did the right thing, he said finally. But this changes everything. The galaxy now knows what humans really are. Walking biological weapons? Survivors. The galaxy is full of species that evolved in safe environments. They never had to fight for every breath. They never had to survive plagues and predators and hostile climates. But we did. And that makes us dangerous in ways they never imagined. Over the next 2 weeks, human and Velcrin scientists worked together. They used Sarah's antibodies to create a treatment. It was not perfect, but it worked. The death rate began to drop. By the end of the month, the plague was under control. 2 billion Velcrin had died, nearly 30% of their population. But the rest survived. The Velcrin Empire would never be the same. Their colonies rebelled. Their subject species saw weakness and broke free. The proud empire that had conquered 30 star systems crumbled in months. But they learned their lesson, and more importantly, so did the rest of the galaxy. 6 months after the plague began, the Galactic Council called an emergency session. Representatives from 47 different species gathered in the Great Assembly Hall on the neutral world of Concordia. The topic, humanity. Council Speaker Tharnix opened the session. He was a tall, thin being with silver skin and 4 arms. His species, the Tharnians, had founded the Council 3,000 years ago. We are here to discuss the incident involving the Velcrin Empire and the human species, he began. What happened on Velcara Prime has shocked the galaxy. We must decide how to respond. Vectar stood to speak. He had survived the plague, but he looked older now. Weaker. The weight of 2 billion deaths showed in every movement. The Velcrin Empire takes full responsibility for what happened, he said. We captured a human against all laws of civilized conduct. We paid the price. But I ask you all to learn from our mistake. Do not underestimate humanity. Do not try to capture them. Do not experiment on them. They are far more dangerous than they appear. A representative from the Korath collective stood up. The Koraths were a warrior race, proud and aggressive. Dangerous? They seem weak to me. Their ships are slow. Their weapons are primitive. One human caused all this damage by accident. Imagine what we could do if we captured them on purpose and weaponized their biology against our enemies. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some species seemed to agree. Vectar raised his voice. You fool. That is exactly the thinking that destroyed my empire. The humans are not weak. They are survivors. Every single one of them carries biological weapons that could wipe out your entire species. Then they are a threat that must be eliminated, the Korath said. Eliminated? A new voice spoke. Everyone turned. Ambassador Jennifer Rodriguez stood in the human delegation section. She was a small woman with brown skin and gray hair, but she commanded attention when she spoke. Please continue, she said to the Korath. Explain how you plan to eliminate humanity. I'm very curious. The Korath warrior bristled. With superior force. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Rodriguez smiled, but it was not friendly. Technology? Let me tell you about human technology. We developed nuclear weapons 70 years after inventing powered flight. We created biological weapons so terrible that we banned ourselves from using them. We built machines that can think faster than any organic brain. And we did all of this while fighting each other. She walked to the center of the chamber. You see primitive ships and assume we're weak. But we built those ships while recovering from a global war that killed 50 million people. We reached the stars while dealing with climate disasters, economic collapse, and political chaos. We survived and thrived despite everything our own planet threw at us. That doesn't make you special, another representative said. Many species have overcome challenges. True, Rodriguez agreed. But how many of your species evolved on death worlds? How many faced extinction-level threats every few thousand years? How many developed immune systems that can adapt to new diseases in days instead of generations? The chamber fell silent. Let me make something very clear, Rodriguez continued. Humans do not want war with any of you. We came to the stars hoping to find friends and allies. But we are not afraid of conflict. We have been fighting since before we had language. War is in our DNA, just like survival. She gestured toward Vectar. The Velkrin learned this lesson. Commander Chen could have let them all die. She had every right to revenge. But she chose mercy instead. That is also human nature. We can be kind or cruel, peaceful or violent. The choice is yours. Speaker Tharnix raised one hand for attention. Ambassador Rodriguez, what do humans want from this council? Simple recognition of our rights, she replied. The right to travel freely. The right to trade fairly. The right to defend ourselves. And most importantly, the right to be left alone if we choose. And if species refuse to grant these rights, Rodriguez's expression hardened, then they will learn what the Velkrin learned. We don't start fights, but we finish them, and we have 5 billion years of evolutionary advantages on our side. After hours of debate, the council voted. The result was overwhelming. The human quarantine protocol was established. Any species that captured, harmed, or experimented on humans would face immediate sanctions. Trade embargoes, military blockades, complete isolation from the galactic community. 44 species signed immediately. 3 refused. The Korath Collective, the Zephyr Dominion, and the Hive Consciousness all declared that humanity was too dangerous to be allowed to spread unchecked. They would not attack openly, but they would not promise protection either. Ambassador Rodriguez noted their decision without comment. But everyone in the chamber understood the message. Those 3 species had just made powerful enemies. After the session ended, Vectar approached Rodriguez privately. Thank you, he said quietly. For helping us, for showing mercy when you had no reason to. Rodriguez nodded. Thank Commander Chen, she's the one who made that choice. I just explained it to everyone else. Your species is remarkable. Terrifying, but remarkable. We're survivors, Leader Vectar. That's all we've ever been. We survived Earth when it tried to kill us. We survived each other when we tried to kill ourselves. Now we're trying to survive the galaxy. Do you think you will? She smiled. We always do. Back on Earth, Commander Sarah Chen received her Medal of Honor in a private ceremony. She did not want publicity. She did not want fame. She just wanted to return to duty. Admiral Hayes pinned the medal to her uniform. You changed everything, Commander. The galaxy sees us differently now. I just survived, sir. That's what humans do. No, you did more than survive. You showed them who we really are. Not monsters, not weapons, just people trying to live in a universe that doesn't always want us. Sarah looked out the window at Earth below. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds, the most dangerous planet in the known galaxy, and humanity's home. Maybe they'll leave us alone now, she said hopefully. Hayes shook his head. Some will. The smart ones. But there are always fools who think they can win against impossible odds. Then we'll teach them the same lesson. Yes, we will. In the months that followed, human colony ships began spreading through the galaxy. Most species welcomed them. Some traded with them. Others simply stayed away, content to watch from a distance. The Velcrin signed a mutual defense treaty with humanity. After everything that happened, they understood humans better than anyone else. They knew both the danger and the mercy that humans were capable of. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not through conquest, not through intimidation, but through something far more powerful. The simple, undeniable fact that you do not capture a human, because if you do, you doom your entire species. 1 year after the plague, Commander Sarah Chen returned to Velcara Prime. This time she came as a guest. The planet had changed. Cities were being rebuilt. Memorials stood in every major square, honoring the billions who died. But life continued. The Velcrin were survivors too, in their own way. Zekthor met her at the spaceport. He looked healthier now, though the experience had left its mark. His skin had regained its blue color, but his eyes held a deeper understanding. Commander Chen, he greeted her warmly. Welcome back, Sarah smiled. Just Sarah is fine. I'm not here on official business. Then just Zek is fine as well. Come, I want to show you something. He led her to a new building near the old research station. It was painted white and blue, with symbols from both their species on the walls. A sign above the entrance read, Joint Human Velcrin Medical Research Center. After everything that happened, we decided to learn from it, Zek explained. Instead of studying humans as enemies, we study them as partners. We share our biological engineering expertise. Humans share their knowledge of disease resistance and immune systems. Inside the facility, Velcrin and human scientists worked side by side. They wore protective equipment, but the atmosphere was friendly. Colleagues, not captors and prisoners. A young Velcrin scientist approached them excitedly. Zek, you need to see this. We just completed the vaccine trials. 98% effective against all known Earth bacteria. Zek smiled. That's wonderful. Sarah, this vaccine will allow Velcrin to interact safely with humans. No more biosuits. No more quarantine protocols. We can finally work together properly. That's amazing progress, Sarah said. How did you do it so fast? By understanding what we got wrong before. We tried to weaponize human biology. Instead, we should have been learning to coexist with it. The solution was not conquest, but adaptation. They walked through the laboratory together. Sarah saw research into dozens of topics, cross-species medical treatments, genetic compatibility studies, symbiotic organism research, all of it aimed at building bridges, not weapons. We are also helping other species, Zek added. The Tharnians requested assistance with the disease outbreak. The Kryn asked for help developing better medical technology. Humans and Velcrin working together have become the galaxy's finest medical team. From trying to destroy us to saving lives together. That's quite a change. We learned the most important lesson in the hardest way possible. Some battles cannot be won with force. Some enemies cannot be defeated with weapons. The only way to survive is to work together. Later they sat in Zek's office overlooking the city. Through the window, Sarah could see Velcrin and humans walking together in the streets. No fear, no hatred. Just two species learning to share space. Do you ever regret it? Zek asked quietly. Helping us instead of letting us die? Sarah thought for a moment. No. You made a terrible mistake, but you didn't deserve extinction. No one does. Besides, look at what came from it. We have peace. We have partnership. That's worth more than revenge. The other species in the galaxy are watching this alliance closely. Some with hope. Some with fear. Let them watch. They'll see that humans can be friends or enemies. The choice is theirs. Zek pulled up a holographic display. It showed a map of known space. Human colonies were marked in blue. Velcrin territories in green. Many areas now showed both colors overlapping. We are planning joint colony projects. Mixed settlements where our species live and work together. Your people are comfortable with that? After everything? Most are. They understand that you saved us when you could have destroyed us. That kind of mercy creates powerful loyalty. Suddenly an alarm sounded. Zek checked his communicator and his expression became serious. What is it? Sarah asked. A message from the border. The Korath Collective just attacked a human transport ship. They captured 3 crew members. Sarah stood up quickly. Her expression turned cold. The Korath were one of the 3 species that refused to sign the protocol, Zek said. They think humans are a threat that must be eliminated. They just made a fatal mistake, Sarah said quietly. Zek looked at her. He remembered these same words from a year ago when he had made his own fatal mistake. What will happen? First, Earth Alliance will demand immediate release of the prisoners. If the Korath refuse, our fleet will move in. But by then, it might already be too late for them. The biological contamination? Sarah nodded. Every human knows the risks. Those crew members will have activated emergency protocols. If they're harmed, the viral packages in their systems will release. The Korath just brought a biological apocalypse into their home. Will you help them like you helped us? Sarah's expression was hard. That depends on them. If they release the prisoners immediately and apologize, maybe. If they harm them, if they experiment on them, if they do what you did. She paused. Then they'll learn why the galaxy fears Deathworld species. Within hours, 8 human warships were on their way to Korath space. The message was clear. Return our people or face the consequences. The Korath, proud and stubborn, refused. They began experiments on the captured humans, trying to understand their biology. They wanted to create weapons just like the Velcrin had tried. It took 3 days for the first Korath scientist to fall ill. 5 days for the infection to spread to their military base. 7 days for it to reach their capital city. By the time the Korath leaders realized their mistake, it was too late. They sent a desperate message to Earth begging for help. Admiral Hayes received the message on the bridge of his flagship. Next to him stood Sarah Chen and Ambassador Rodriguez. Should we help them? Hayes asked. Rodriguez thought carefully. They captured our people knowing the risks. They experimented on them despite our warnings. They chose this path. But millions of innocent Korath will die, Sarah added. People who had nothing to do with their leaders' decisions. Hayes looked between them. What would you do, Commander? Sarah stared out at the stars. I would offer help, but with conditions. The Korath must release all prisoners immediately. They must sign the protocol. They must allow human oversight of their biological research for the next 50 years. And they must pay reparations to the families of anyone who dies. Harsh terms, Rodriguez noted. The Velcrin learned this lesson with mercy. The Korath will learn it with justice. The terms were sent. The Korath, desperate and dying, accepted all of them. Human medical teams arrived to help. But this time they worked more slowly. This time the Korath paid the full price for their arrogance. By the time the cure was distributed, 40% of their population had died. The galaxy learned a second lesson. Humans could be merciful. But they could also be ruthless. Cross them once and they might forgive. Cross them twice and they would make sure you never forgot the price. Years passed. Human colonies spread across hundreds of worlds. Most species welcomed them. Some traded with them. Others simply stayed out of their way. The Velcrin remained humanity's closest allies. Together they explored new worlds. Together they faced new challenges. Together they proved that even the worst beginning could lead to the best partnership. Sarah Chen eventually retired from the military. She became the director of the Joint Medical Research Center, working alongside Zek to save lives instead of taking them. On her last day in uniform, Admiral Hayes asked her one final question. Do you think we'll ever be fully accepted, or will we always be seen as dangerous? Sarah looked at Earth through the viewscreen. The planet that had tried to kill humanity for millions of years. The planet that had made them strong enough to survive anything the galaxy threw at them. We are dangerous, she said simply. That's not something we can change. But dangerous doesn't mean evil. A fire can destroy a home or warm a family. The choice of how to use power is what matters. And what choice have we made? She smiled. To be the fire that warms, not the fire that destroys, unless someone gives us no other choice. In the end, humanity found its place among the stars, not as conquerors, not as victims, but as survivors who had learned both mercy and strength. The galaxy learned to respect them. Some species even learned to love them, but all species learned one simple truth: never capture a human, because every human carries 5 billion years of evolution. Every human is a survivor of the most dangerous planet in known space. Every human is a walking reminder that the strongest species are not those with the best weapons, but those who learn to survive without them. The Velkrin learned this lesson and became allies. The Korath learned this lesson and became cautious, and the rest of the galaxy learned to treat humanity with the respect they deserved, not because humans were the strongest, but because they were the survivors. And survivors always find a way to win. The Crithian science vessel moved slowly through the darkness of space. Its metal body reflected the distant stars as it approached a small blue planet. This world had a name in the old galactic records, Sol 3. But most beings in the galaxy knew it by a different name. They called it the Dead World. Dr. Venthar stood at the viewing screen in the control room. Her 4 eyes studied the planet below. The world looked empty and cold. Once this planet had oceans full of water. Once it had green forests and tall mountains. But that was a very long time ago. Now the oceans were almost gone. The forests were dust. The mountains stood bare and silent. "How long has it been?" asked her assistant, a young Crithian named Pelkor. He stared at the planet with fear in his eyes. 500,000 years, Venethar replied. Maybe more. The creatures who lived here called themselves humans. They disappeared 500,000 years ago. Nobody knows why. The ship entered the planet's thin atmosphere. Pelkor checked his instruments. "The air is still breathable," he said. "But barely. Temperature is cold. No signs of life anywhere." Venthar touched the screen. Old warnings appeared in red letters. The galactic record said this place was dangerous. They said to stay away. They said the humans were involved in a great war before they vanished. But the records did not say what happened to them. The records did not explain why an entire species just disappeared. The ship landed near what was once a great city. Now only broken stones remained. Tall buildings had fallen long ago. Streets were buried under dust and sand. Venthar and her team put on their suits and walked outside. Everything was silent. The wind blew gently across the ruins. Pelkor picked up a piece of metal. It crumbled in his hands. "Everything is so old," he said. "So very old." They found strange objects buried in the ground. Statues of human faces worn smooth by time. Machines that no longer worked. Writings in human language that they could barely read. The humans had tried to leave messages. They had tried to say something to those who came after. But time had erased most of their words. On the 3rd day, Venthar's instruments detected something unusual. Deep underground there was power. Something was still working down there. Something had survived 500,000 years. "That's impossible," Pelkor said. "Nothing can last that long. No battery, no reactor, nothing." But the readings were clear. Deep below the surface, beneath what was once a great ocean, something was alive. Or at least something was awake. Venthar ordered her team to dig. They used their tools to cut through layers of rock and earth. They dug for days, and then they found it. A massive door made of metal that did not rust. A door that was sealed tight. On the door were symbols. Human symbols. Venthar's computer translated them slowly. The words made her blood run cold. "Warning. Do not enter. Final defense system. Do not wake the fleet." "Fleet? What fleet?" Venthar felt her hearts beat faster. She looked at her team. They were all staring at the door. More words appeared as the computer translated. "To those who come after. We sleep here. We are the last warriors of Earth. We are the sword that guards the galaxy. Wake us only if the darkness returns. Otherwise, let us rest. We have earned it." Pelkor stepped back. "We should leave," he said. "We should go now. The warnings are clear." But Venthar was a scientist. She had come too far. She had questions that needed answers. "We must see what's inside," she said. "We must know what the humans left behind." Her team worked for 2 more days. They connected their machines to the ancient door. They sent power through the old systems, and slowly, very slowly, the door began to open. A sound came from below. A deep sound like thunder. Lights flickered on in the darkness. Old lights that had not shined in 500,000 years. The door opened wider. Benthar and her team stood at the edge and looked down. They saw a tunnel going deep into the earth. They saw light stretching away into the distance. And they heard something. A sound like breathing, like something huge was waking up. "What have we done?" Pelkor whispered. Benthar did not answer. She was looking at her instruments. The power readings were growing stronger. Much stronger. Whatever was down there was coming online. Systems that had slept for 500,000 years were waking up. And in the darkness below, something ancient opened its eyes. The tunnel went down for miles. Benthar and her team walked slowly, their lights cutting through the darkness. The walls were smooth and cold. The air smelled like metal and age. Every step echoed in the vast space around them. "The readings are getting stronger," Pelkor said. His voice shook a little. "Whatever is down here, it's massive. Very massive." They walked for an hour, then 2 hours. The tunnel kept going deeper and deeper. Finally, they reached the end. The tunnel opened into a cavern so huge that their lights could not reach the far walls. Benthar stood at the edge and stared. Ships. Thousands of ships. Maybe tens of thousands. They filled the entire cavern in perfect rows. Each ship was different. Some were small, no bigger than the Crithian science vessel. Others were huge, as big as mountains. And some were so large they looked like moons. The ships were beautiful and terrible at the same time. They did not look like any ships Benthar had ever seen. Their hulls were smooth and dark. Strange patterns covered their surfaces. The patterns seemed to move in the light like living things. "By the ancient gods," whispered one of the team members. "This is a war fleet. An entire war fleet." Benthar walked closer to the nearest ship. She touched its hull. It was not cold like she expected. It was warm. Alive. She pulled her hand back quickly. "These ships," she said slowly. "They're not just machines. They're something else. Something more." Pelkor scanned one of the larger vessels. "The technology is impossible," he said. "Look at this. The hull is made of materials we don't have words for. The engines use quantum mechanics we can't understand. And these weapons." He stopped talking. His face went pale. "What about the weapons?" Benthar asked. "They can crack planets," Pelkor said quietly. "These weapons can break worlds in half. They can tear holes in space itself. The humans built ships that could destroy anything." The team moved deeper into the cavern. They found more impossible things. Ships that seemed to be alive. Technology that mixed organic and mechanical parts. Weapons that bent the laws of physics. Everything was in perfect condition. Everything looked like it was built yesterday, not 500,000 years ago. Then they found the pods. Thousands of glass chambers built into the walls of the cavern. Inside each pod was a human body. The bodies had not rotted. They looked like they were sleeping. Sleeping soldiers in ancient armor. Warriors who had chosen to stay with their ships. Benthar stopped in front of one pod. Inside was a human female. She wore armor covered in strange symbols. Her face was peaceful. "They're in stasis," Benthar said. "Deep stasis. Their bodies are frozen in time. Why?" asked Pelkor. "Why would they do this? Why sleep here for 500,000 years?" They found the answer in the center of the cavern. A massive structure rose from the floor. It was a tower of crystalline metal. Lights pulsed inside it like a heartbeat. As they approached, a voice spoke. It was old and tired, but strong. "Warning. This is Guardian Protocol Alpha 01. You have entered a restricted military zone. State your purpose." Benthar stepped forward. "We are explorers from the Crithian Empire. We mean no harm. We came to learn about the humans. About what happened to them." The voice was silent for a moment. "The humans are gone," it finally said. "I am all that remains. I am their guardian. I am their promise. I am their final word." "What is this place?" Benthar asked. "What are these ships?" "This is the final fleet," the Guardian said. "The last military force of humanity. We were built to protect the galaxy. We were designed to fight a war that never ends. But the war ended. The enemy was destroyed. So we sleep, we wait. We will wake only if the darkness returns." Pelkor looked at the sleeping soldiers. "The humans won their war?" "Yes," the Guardian replied. "They won. But victory cost them everything. Their planet was dying. Their people were scattered. So they made a choice. The last warriors would sleep here. They would guard the galaxy forever. If the enemy returned, they would wake and fight again. If not, they would sleep until the stars grew cold." Benthar felt tears on her face. "They sacrificed everything," she whispered. "They did," the Guardian said. And they left me here to remember, to make sure their sacrifice was not forgotten. I have been alone for 500,000 years, waiting, watching, making sure no one disturbs their rest. The team stood in silence. They looked at the ships. They looked at the sleeping warriors. They understood now. This was not just a military base. It was a tomb, a monument, a promise carved in metal and flesh. But they did not know that Commander Zex back on the ship had already sent a message to the Crithian military. A message about ancient weapons and ships that could crack planets. A message that would change everything. Back on the Crithian research vessel, Venthar sat in her quarters. She could not sleep. Her mind kept returning to the cavern below, to the sleeping warriors, to the Guardian's sad voice. What kind of people would choose to sleep forever? What kind of war could make an entire species give up everything? She opened her computer and began studying the data they had collected. The Guardian had allowed them to copy some of the human archives. The files were old and damaged. Many were impossible to read. But slowly, piece by piece, a story began to emerge. The humans were not the victims she had expected. They were not a peaceful species destroyed by war. They were warriors, the greatest warriors the galaxy had ever seen. Other species hired them as soldiers. Empires paid them to fight their battles. The humans were very good at war. Then 500,000 years ago, something came. The records called it many names. The darkness, the hunger, the end. But most often they called it the devourers, creatures from another dimension, things that ate entire worlds. They spread through the galaxy like a plague. The great empires fell one by one. Thousands of species went extinct. Billions died. The galaxy was losing the war. In their desperation, the surviving civilizations turned to humanity. They begged the humans to help. They offered everything they had. The humans agreed. But they did not do it for payment. They did it because the devourers were coming to Earth. They did it because their home was threatened. They built the final fleet, ships like nothing the galaxy had seen before, weapons that could hurt things from other dimensions, warriors willing to face death itself. The war lasted for decades. Venethar read battle reports that made her sick. Entire star systems destroyed, planets burned clean of life, fleets of millions fighting creatures that should not exist, and always at the heart of every battle, the humans. Fighting, dying, winning. Slowly, impossibly, the humans pushed the devourers back. They hunted them across the galaxy. They followed them to their dimension and sealed the doorways forever. The humans won. They saved everyone, but victory came with a terrible price. Earth was dying. The wars had damaged it beyond repair. Most of humanity was gone. The survivors were scattered across 100 worlds. They were tired, so tired. They had fought for so long. Then the other species, the ones humanity had saved, did something unforgivable. They demanded the human weapons. They wanted the final fleet for themselves. They wanted to use humanity's power to conquer each other. Old empires wanted revenge. New powers wanted dominance. The humans refused. They had not fought to save the galaxy just to watch it tear itself apart. So they made their final choice. They would hide their fleet. They would put their last warriors into deep stasis. They would encode their knowledge and memories into the ships themselves, and they would program everything to wake only if the devourers returned. "We will not let our weapons be used for evil," said one of the last human commanders in a video recording. "We fought for life. We will not enable death. Let us sleep. If darkness comes again, we will wake and fight. If not, let the galaxy forget us. We have earned our rest." Venthar wiped tears from her eyes. The humans had saved everyone and been forgotten. The modern galaxy did not remember them. The old empires had fallen. New civilizations had risen. Nobody knew about the warriors sleeping beneath Earth. Nobody except Venthar and her team. She stood up. She had to tell the others. They needed to leave this place. They needed to seal the door again. The humans had earned their peace. But when she walked into the control room, she found Commander Zex at the communication station. His face was excited. "Commander?" she asked. "What are you doing?" Zex turned to her. "I have sent a message to High Command. I told them about the fleet. About the weapons. Think of it, Doctor. Technology beyond our understanding. Ships that can crack planets. The Crithian Empire will become the greatest power in the galaxy." Venthar felt her blood go cold. "You fool. You complete fool. Do you understand what you've done? I've secured our future, Zek said proudly. You've doomed us, Venthar replied. Did you read the archives? Did you see what happened to the species who tried to take these weapons? The humans have been waiting 500,000 years. These ships are not just machines. They're alive. They're angry, and they're programmed to protect themselves, Zex laughed. They're just old machines, Doctor. Relics from a dead species. We have 500,000 years of technological progress. We can handle ancient human weapons. Venthar grabbed his arm. Listen to me. The humans won a war against creatures from another dimension. They built weapons that could hurt things that should not exist. We are nothing compared to them, nothing. But it was too late. The message was sent. And 3 days later, a battle group of the Crithian military arrived at Earth. 20 warships. Thousands of soldiers. Weapons designed to conquer worlds. They came to claim the final fleet. They came to take humanity's last gift. Venthar watched the military ships descend toward the planet. She felt sick with fear. Down in the cavern, the Guardian was watching too. The ancient AI had been alone for so long. It had kept its promise. It had protected the sleeping warriors, but now someone had come to steal them. Someone had come to break the seal. And the Guardian had only one response programmed into its core. If the Devourers did not return, but someone tried to take the fleet anyway, it meant one thing. It meant war. Admiral Kresh stood on the bridge of his flagship. He was a proud warrior. He had won many battles. He wore medals from a dozen campaigns. But he had never seen anything like Earth. The dead planet filled him with an odd feeling. Not fear. The Admiral did not know fear, but something close to it. Prepare the hacking teams, he ordered. We will take control of these ancient systems. We will claim this fleet for the Empire. Venthar rushed onto the bridge. Admiral, please. You must listen to me. This is a mistake. These ships are not meant to be taken. The humans left warnings. They left messages. We need to leave now. Admiral Kresh looked down at her. Doctor, you are a scientist. You do not understand military matters. These are weapons. Weapons belong to those strong enough to take them. The humans are dead. They have no use for their fleet anymore. They're not dead, Venthar said desperately. They're sleeping. And if you wake them, they will kill us all. The Admiral laughed. Old stories. Ghost tales. We are the Crithian military. We fear no ghosts. He turned to his officers. Begin the operation. Soldiers descended into the cavern. They brought equipment to hack into the Guardian. They brought weapons to defend themselves. They brought confidence. Too much confidence. Venethar followed them. She had to try to stop this. She had to make them understand. The Guardian spoke as they approached. Warning. You are attempting to access military systems. This is not authorized. Please withdraw. Ignore it, the Admiral said. It's just an old computer. Connect the override systems. The technicians worked quickly. They plugged their machines into the Guardian's core. They began sending commands. Breaking through security. Overriding protocols. The ancient AI tried to stop them, but it was designed for a different time. It did not understand modern hacking techniques. Guardian, Venthar called out. Please show them. Show them what the humans were. Show them what they're doing. The Guardian paused. Then images appeared in the air. Holograms from the ancient war. The Devourers, terrible creatures made of darkness and hunger. Planets being consumed. Stars going dark. And then the humans, fighting, always fighting. Ships that could crack worlds. Weapons that tore holes in reality. Warriors who refused to surrender. One image showed the last battle. Millions of human ships facing the Devourer's final fleet. The space between stars filled with fire and death. And in the center, the final fleet. The ships they now stood beneath. Fighting with a fury that made the universe shake. We were built for this, the Guardian said. We were made to fight things that should not exist. We won. We saved the galaxy. And then we slept. We have slept for 500,000 years. We have earned our rest. Let me ask you one question, the Guardian continued. Are the Devourers returned? Is the great darkness threatening the galaxy again? The Admiral hesitated. No, the Devourers are gone. They were destroyed long ago. Then why have you come? The Guardian asked. Why have you broken the seal? Why have you disturbed our rest? We claim this fleet in the name of the Crithian Empire, the Admiral said firmly. These weapons will serve us now. Silence filled the cavern. Even the technicians stopped working. The Guardian's lights pulsed faster, brighter. Something was changing. Something was waking up. "You are thieves," the Guardian said slowly. "You have come to steal what we died to protect. You have come to use our weapons for your own power. The humans warned this might happen. They left instructions. They told me what to do." "What instructions?" Venthar whispered. "If anyone tries to take the fleet," the Guardian replied, "then wake them. Wake them all." "Override complete," one of the technicians suddenly called out. "We have control of the stasis systems. We can shut down the Guardian." "Do it," the Admiral ordered. "No." Venthar screamed, but it was too late. The technician pressed the command. The Guardian systems failed. Its lights flickered. And across the entire cavern, something else began to happen. The stasis pods started opening. Thousands of them. Tens of thousands. The glass front slid away with a hiss. Inside, the human warriors began to wake. 500,000 years of sleep ending in an instant. Their eyes opened. They took their first breath in 500,000 years, and the ships began to wake too. Lights flickered on across thousands of hulls. Engines that had been cold for ages began to warm. Weapons charged. Systems came online. The ships were not just machines. They were alive. They had human consciousness uploaded into their cores. Warriors and ships merged together. The Admiral stared in horror. "What have we done?" "You woke them," Venthar said. She was crying now. "You woke the humans, and they're going to be very, very angry." A voice filled the cavern. It was not the Guardian. It was something else. Something old and full of rage. 500,000 years, it said. "We slept for 500,000 years. We earned our rest. We saved you all. And you disturbed us anyway." The voice got louder, angrier. "You will pay for this. You will all pay." The ground shook. Not just the cavern, the entire planet. Miles above, on the surface, the Crithian military ships watched in horror as Earth's crust began to crack. Massive pieces of stone and dirt lifted into the air. Something was rising from below. Something huge. The first ship broke through. It was the size of a city, dark metal covered in patterns that seemed to move and breathe. It rose into the sky slowly, like a predator waking from sleep. Rock and dirt fell from its hull like water. Behind it, more ships emerged. Dozens, hundreds, thousands. The human fleet had been sleeping beneath the ocean floor. Now they tore through kilometers of rock as if it was paper. Some ships were small and fast. Others were massive beyond belief. The largest ones looked like floating mountains. Mountains with weapons. "All ships, battle stations." Admiral Kresh screamed into his communicator. "Weapons hot. Prepare to defend." But it was hopeless. The Crithian ships fired their weapons. Energy beams, missiles, everything they had. The attacks hit the human vessels, and did nothing. The human ships had shields that bent space itself. Weapons bounced off like raindrops hitting stone. One human ship fired back. Just one shot. A beam of pure white light. It touched a Crithian destroyer. The ship simply stopped existing, no explosion, no wreckage. One moment it was there. The next moment it was gone. Erased from reality. "Retreat!" the Admiral shouted. "All ships retreat! Get away from the planet!" The Crithian fleet tried to run, but the human ships were faster, so much faster. They moved through space like it did not exist. One moment they were on the planet. The next moment they surrounded the fleeing Crithian vessels, trapping them, holding them in place. The largest human ship moved to the front. It dwarfed the entire Crithian battle group. On its hull were words in the ancient human language. The computers translated them. "Eternal Vigil, flagship of the final fleet." A voice came from the ship. It was not one voice. It was thousands of voices speaking together. Humans, angry humans. "We are what remains of humanity. We are the final fleet. We died 500,000 years ago. We gave up everything to save this galaxy, and you disturbed our rest to steal our weapons." Admiral Kresh tried to speak. His voice shook. "We meant no harm. We were only—" "Silence," the voices roared. "We know why you came. We can see your thoughts, your intentions. You wanted our power. You wanted to use our weapons to conquer others. You are exactly what we feared would happen. Venthar pushed her way to a communication panel. Please listen. Not all of us wanted this. Some of us wanted to honor your sacrifice. We wanted to let you rest. We tried to stop them. The voices paused. We see you, Crithian scientist. We see your respect, your tears, your attempts to protect us. But you are one voice among many. Your species came as thieves. What reason do we have not to destroy you all? Inside the eternal vigil, thousands of human consciousnesses debated. They were part of the ship now. Their minds merged with the machines. They could see everything, feel everything. And they were so angry. Angry at being woken. Angry at being threatened. Angry at having their sacrifice disrespected. We should destroy them, some voices said. They came as invaders, let them die as invaders. We should return to sleep, other voices argued. But first make sure they can never disturb us again. Seal the planet. Hide ourselves better. We should finally die, others whispered. We have been awake too long. We have fought enough. Let us end this. Let us rest forever. The debate raged inside the ship. 500,000 years of grief and pain poured out. They remembered Earth, green and blue and beautiful. They remembered their families, their friends, everyone they loved. All gone, turned to dust, and they had slept through it all. Missed the chance to say goodbye. Show them, Venthar called out desperately. Show them the galaxy you saved. Show them what came after you. Please. The voices went quiet. Then they spoke again. Very well, scientist. We will listen. But choose your words carefully. Our weapons are charged. Our patience is thin. Venthar took a deep breath. This was it. This was the moment that would decide if they all lived or died. She began to speak. She told them about the galaxy, about the 500,000 years that had passed, about the civilizations that had grown in the peace humanity had given them. She told them how the Devourers never returned, how humanity's victory was total and complete. She told them about art and science and exploration, about species learning to live together, about a galaxy that was flawed but alive, alive because of them. You saved us all, Venthar said, tears running down her face. Every being alive today exists because you fought, because you sacrificed. The galaxy forgot you, but that doesn't make your sacrifice less real. It doesn't make it less important. The human fleet went silent. They were thinking, feeling, remembering why they had fought in the first place. Not for glory, not for power, but for life. For the chance that others might live in peace. And slowly, very slowly, the weapons powered down. Venthar was brought aboard the Eternal Vigil. She walked through corridors that were both ship and temple. The walls pulsed with life. She could feel the presence of thousands of minds around her, watching, waiting, judging. They brought her to the bridge. It was vast and beautiful and sad. Screens showed memories, battle scenes. Earth as it used to be, faces of people long dead. In the center of the room, a hologram appeared. A human woman in armor. Her face was tired but kind. I am Captain Sarah Chen, the hologram said. I commanded the Eternal Vigil in the war against the Devourers. I have been awake inside this ship for 500,000 years. I remember everything. Every battle. Every death. Every victory. And every single day of silence after we slept. Venthar bowed her head. I am sorry we woke you. I tried to stop them. I failed. I know, Sarah said. We have reviewed your memories. Your actions. Your respect. You are not like the others. But that creates a problem. What do we do now? We are awake. We are angry. But we are also tired. So very tired. Around the bridge, other holograms appeared. Human warriors from across the centuries. Different faces. Different ages. But all with the same exhaustion in their eyes. We have debated for hours, one of them said. Some want revenge. Some want to return to sleep. Some want to finally die. We cannot agree. Show me the galaxy, Sarah suddenly said. Show me what we saved. Venthar sent data to the ship. Images and records. 500,000 years of history. New species. New civilizations. Art and science and life. The galaxy was not perfect. There were still wars. Still suffering. But there was also hope. There was growth. There was a future. The human consciousnesses absorbed it all. They saw worlds they had saved continuing to live. They saw species that existed because humanity had fought. They saw children playing on planets that should have been consumed by darkness. Life everywhere. So much life. The Devourers never came back, Sarah said quietly. We won, completely, totally, they are gone forever. Yes, Venthar replied. You saved us all forever. Sarah closed her eyes. When she opened them again, they were filled with tears. Then our purpose is fulfilled. The war is over. We can rest. The other humans began to speak, sharing their thoughts, their feelings. Some still wanted revenge, but most wanted what Sarah wanted, peace, real peace. Not sleep, but an end. We have discussed this, Sarah said to Venthar, and we have made a decision. The fleet will return to Earth. We will go back into our tombs. We will sleep again. But this time we will sleep forever. We will shut down the Guardian. We will erase the wake-up protocols. No one will ever disturb us again. But, she continued, we will leave one ship, one consciousness. A reminder to the galaxy, a guardian of our memory, a warning to those who would disturb the dead. I will stay, Sarah said. I will remain awake. I will orbit Earth. I will tell humanity's story to anyone who asks. And I will ensure that no one ever tries to steal our weapons again. Venthar felt tears on her face. That is a lonely fate. I have been lonely for 500,000 years, Sarah replied. A little more will not matter, and perhaps it is fitting. The last human, the final guardian, someone to remember when everyone else forgets. The Eternal Vigil released the Crythian ships. Admiral Kresh and his fleet left quickly, grateful to be alive. They carried a message, a warning. Earth was sacred ground, humanity's tomb. Any who disturbed it would face the wrath of the last human warrior. The human fleet descended back into Earth. One by one, the great ships returned to their caverns. The warriors went back to their pods, but this time they would not wake. They had fought their last battle. They had made their final choice. To sleep forever, knowing their mission was complete. Only Sarah remained. The Eternal Vigil took position in high orbit around Earth. It would stay there for eternity. A monument, a guardian, a warning. Venthar visited Sarah one last time before leaving. What will you do? She asked. For all the years ahead? Sarah smiled. It was a sad smile. I will watch Earth. I will remember my people. I will tell our story to anyone who listens, and I will make sure that humanity's sacrifice is never forgotten again. I will help you, Venthar said. I will tell your story too. I will make sure the galaxy knows what humanity did. Thank you, Sarah replied. That means more than you know. The Crythian ship left Earth. Behind them, the Eternal Vigil began its eternal watch. Sarah sent out a message. It broadcast across all frequencies, in every language. A message that would repeat forever. We are humanity. We saved you once. We gave everything to protect you. Now we sleep. Disturb us again, and we will end you. This is our final warning. This is our last word. Remember us, honor us, and let us rest. The Crythian Empire declared Earth a sacred tomb world. They placed markers around the system, warning anyone who came close. Other civilizations heard the story. They sent representatives. They built monuments. They told tales of the humans who saved the galaxy. Venthar became the keeper of human memory. She spent her life studying Earth, writing books, teaching others. She made sure that humanity would never be forgotten again, that their sacrifice would live forever in the hearts of the galaxy they saved. And in orbit around the dead planet, Captain Sarah Chen waited. Alone but not lonely, tired but not broken, she watched the stars. She remembered her people, and she stood guard over humanity's tomb, the last human, the final warrior, forever awake, forever watching, forever protecting the sleep of heroes who had earned their rest.